Hello and welcome to our presentation on a proposal for facilitated canopy restoration. The goal of this project is to facilitate canopy restoration of disturbed ecosystems in Western Canada and Northern Ontario through development of intentioned forests. Hopefully at this point you're asking yourself, what are intentioned forests? Well, this is a new term that we've coined to represent new forests which are established for specific environmental, social, and economical purposes, which might include land reclamation from damaging environmental practices, including oil extraction and mineral extraction, CO2 sequestration for climate change mitigation, or the establishment of new Canadian green industries in bioproducts and new plant genomes. The obvious complexity of this project necessitates a wide range of partner expertise, and for this reason we have assembled a group of experts from silviculturalists to tree seed physiologists to manufacturers, bioproduct developers, and an expert in tree establishment in an unfavorable environment who is also the inventor of the Grosso water box, which we are going to show you right now.
Can you plant in dry areas? Do things grow there? Because in the moment nothing grows there. When you travel through these areas, you see lots of trees, not on one place, but all over the world in dry places you see them. I made some pictures of them, and they prove us that once a tree is able to establish in a desert or in a dry place, it can grow there. So then what's the problem with that tree? If you look in deserts, there's a lot of rain, much more rain than we think. Many deserts have between 6 to 20 inches of rain. The problem in most of the deserts is not the quantity. The problem is that this water falls in a peak. So you have 51 weeks dry and only 1 week of rain. And then the problem is that a seed that's germinating during this week will die afterwards because it cannot survive the next 51 weeks. I actually also studied what is happening in Mother Nature. How does Mother Nature plant? Mother Nature plants a lot different than we do, because when we plant, we buy a very big plant that immediately evaporates, and we dig a hole. But Mother Nature doesn't do that. Mother Nature starts with a seed, and the seed is brought to the soil, on top of the soil, and it's covered by the excrement of the bird or of the cow. So Mother Nature doesn't dig a hole also. It keeps the soil intact. Why is that? Because in the soil there's a transport system of water. We call that capillary. And if you want to plant a desert, you have to keep that capillary intact. So I developed kind of an idea, a box that would make water from the air, the condensation, and that would capture the water from the air, the rain, and then store that water in the box and give it to the plant. I did trials with a handmade box from 2003 to 2005, and it worked, but of course it was in Holland, so it's not a very difficult place to grow. But I had the principles in my mind and improved the box that I had to 25 boxes. And I went to the Sahara Desert, which is more or less the mother of all deserts. And I did 4 years of trials. And after 4 years, I had 88% of the trees alive. So, thank you. With the information that I collected over the years, I decided, okay, now I'm going to invest in a box that we can make through an industrialized way, through molding, injection molding. And I call this the Groesus water box. It is a box with a double opening. Why double opening? Suppose you want to plant 1 million acres and 12% fails, then you still lose 120,000 acres. So in this box that you actually put on top of the soil, which means that you copy Mother Nature, we plant 2 seeds or 2 small trees. You nail the box on the soil, and then those 2 seeds will receive water from the box. The box itself functions like the excrement, so it prevents the evaporation of the capillary. And the cover of this box is a copy of the lotus leaf, which means that water hardly attaches to it. If you put a microscope, you see small pyramids that lower down the adhesion of the water to the surface. The condensation and the rain is captured by this box and enters into these two holes. And then you create kind of a water battery, which means that if you have a rain shower in a desert of only one day and only 4 inches, then this box is full of water. On the bottom of the box is a dripper. And the dripper gives the water that you've captured every day to the plants that are planted in the center. So one rain shower of 4 inches is enough to give this plant or the seed a whole year water. And after that year, the plant is established. Of course, there are more questions. How is it actually possible that a tree is able to grow in a rock? This is a tree that I took a photo from between Reno and Sacramento. It's growing on a rock, and 50 miles further away, in Napa Valley, they grow wine plants in fertile soil, and they need 200 gallons per year. Why is it possible that nature is able to plant on a rock and the rock grows very good? And if the irrigation stops, all the wine plants die. So I started to study more than just the planting, but what happens after planting. And I found that after planting, nature makes a very different route from the routes that we actually use when we plant. Nature makes what we call a radical root. And a radical root is able to make a pressure of 725 psi, which means that it's able to break every rock. It also means that if you don't use this rock, this kind of radical root, it is very difficult for us to replant deserts or eroded areas. So I started to study the roots that we plant, actually. And when you look at these pictures, you see that the root that we have in common plants, 99.9% of all the plants in the world, then you see a destroyed radical root, and you see what we call fantastic secondary roots. But those secondary roots are not able to penetrate in rock. So we have actually to develop a different kind of root that is able to penetrate the soils if we really want to replant those dry areas, or if you just want to plant in your dry garden. Here you see an example of the trees that we plant. After a few years, there's not a radical root to be seen. So those trees only grow superficial, and as soon as it is dry, they will die.
Okay, now let's check out a real-life example of the Grosso water box in Spain. Now back to our proposal. With the team of experts we have assembled, we aim to provide reforestation on sites devoid of vegetation due to resource extraction. This will be accomplished through genome and seed selection, as well as the use of a new bio-based water box that will be developed using proprietary technology for the material which is being developed at the University of Toronto. Shown here is a plantable pot made from 100% bio-based material with the ability to hold water similar to plastic. The final slide gives an overview of the proposed project, which is to facilitate canopy restoration through intentioned forests.